ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। We are in the fourth Anuvaka. I'll chant the entire Anuvaka and then you will repeat that particular mantra which we have to focus on. नम आव्याधिनीभ्यो विविध्यन्तीभ्यश्च वो नमो नम उगणाभ्यस्त्रिगंहतीभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो गृत्सेभ्यो गृत्सपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो व्रातेभ्यो व्रातपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो गणेभ्यो गणपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो विरूपेभ्यो विश्वरूपेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो महद्भ्यः क्षुल्लकेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो रथेभ्यो रथेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो रथेभ्यो रथपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः सेनाभ्यस्सेनानिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः क्षत्रभ्यः संग्रहीतृभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः तक्षद्भ्यो रथकारेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः कुलालेभ्यः कर्मारेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः पुञ्जिष्टेभ्यो निषादेभ्यश्च वो नमो नम इषुकृद्भ्यो धन्वकृद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमो मृगयुभ्यश्वनिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः श्वभ्यश्वपतिभ्यश्च वो नमः। Today we are in the Namo Mahadbhyaha, that part of the mantra, so please repeat after me. नमो महद्भ्यः क्षुल्लकेभ्यश्च वो नमो। After the visarga are the two dots, mahadbhyaha. After that visarga, whenever there is ksha, ksha does not combine with the visarga, therefore we have to specifically pronounce it distinctly. Whereas in the other parts, wherever there is namaha, it is already included in the sandhi, therefore we don't specifically pronounce it. Therefore, while you are chanting this particular mantra and there is one after two lines, namaha kshatrabhyas sangrahitrbhyascha vo namo nama. So, in that particular part and here wherever there is a ksha, the visarga has to be distinctly pronounced. A little bit of Sanskrit. Good to remember when you are chanting it. Namo mahadbhyaha क्षुल्लकेभ्यश्च वो नमो. Salutations. Salutations to what? Mahadbhyaha. Mahadbhyaha. Salutations to those who are brilliant, those who are highly respected, or those who are endowed with different kinds of siddhi. Here especially we are talking about Ashta Siddhi. There are other shades of meanings, we will see that when we come into the deeper meaning. Chullakebhyaha. Chullakebhyaha are those who are in the form not so glorious. Not so glorious, who do not have high brilliance, they are not that very respected, and they have no siddhi absolutely. These are called Khullakebhyaha. So, to both these forms, our salutations to that Lord who expresses. Salutations unto you in the form of those who have with extreme intelligence and those who do not have that brilliance. So, when you look at it at a peripheral level, it is always confusing. What kind of a stuti is this? What kind of a worship is this? We went through a patch wherein it was different shades of taskara, different kinds of thieves, robbers and thugs. I know here it is Mahadbhyaha. First let us understand Mahadbhyaha. As it is said in Bhagavad Gita, though technically when we are talking about the mantras of the Veda, we are not supposed to cross refer and give a reference from any other Smriti, Itihasa, Purana, or for that matter anything even later period which was created. Veda always stands as a pramana for the rest of them, and the rest of them cannot be taken as a pramana for the Veda. When you look at the parent and the child, it is okay to say that the child looks like the father or mother. It is not okay to say that the father or mother looks like the child. One is the origin, the other one is the effect of that origin. Similarly, origin are the Vedas. So, cross reference should not be from any Smriti, Itihasa, Purana or the written script by various Mahatmas. But then Bhagavad Gita has a very unique distinction. Unique distinction because it can be classified under all the categories of our scriptures. It can be categorized as, definitely it is Itihasa because it is a part of Mahabharata. It can be called as the Smriti because it gives us the do's and don'ts of our life and living. Therefore, it is called Smriti also. Bhagavad Gita is also called as the Purana because it talks about the ancient knowledge. It can also be called as the Veda because Vedas are the louder expression of the Lord's voice. Here, the Bhagavad Gita was given verily by the Lord himself. Therefore, it can be called as Shruti. Why am I giving such an introduction into this? Because what I am going to quote is from Bhagavad Gita. So, technically orthodox people would say that how can you even dare quote from Bhagavad Gita to justify Vedas? But because it is given by the Lord, it is very much justified. Therefore, what does Bhagavad Gita say? Buddhim buddhimatam asmi. That in all these different people and different expressions, the brilliance that expresses is the expression of my own self, says the Lord. So, it is the same thing which is being described here. Mahadbhyaha, Mahadbhyaha, the brilliance that expresses forth in every individual, that leaves the rest of them in awe looking at that brilliance. Such brilliance is the expression of the Lord himself. Mahadbhyaha. Then there are those who have acquired, because of their intense sadhana, they have acquired great siddhis. Ashta siddhi, anima, garima, lagima, mahima, vashitya, prakamya. There are all these superpowers, and these superpowers can transcend Batman, Superman. What other mans do you have? Spider-Man, all these different mans put together, it can transcend all of them. Ashtasiddhi. So, those who are endowed with such Ashtasiddhis, they are also, the Ashtasiddhis are the expression of the Lord himself. Salutations to the Rudras, to that Rudra who is an expression of such great power. Directly we are worshipping that Rudra Bhagavan himself, who is endowed with all these qualities anyway. So, salutations to Rudra, who is the greatest, Mahadbhya. Now, these Ashtasiddhis, one has to be really careful that the sadhana should not be done so that we acquire these Ashtasiddhi. Sadhana should be done so that we transcend all these siddhis. Because if we do the sadhana for acquiring these things, then we are stuck in our own limitations. These Ashtasiddhis are like, enticing Disney worlds in the spiritual realm, if you can imagine. There are 8 of them. So, when somebody comes and asks, like, you are spiritual, can you read my mind or can you predict my future? Gurudev used to tell such beautiful things for quick answers for such people. Do you read my mind? The Gurudev's very blunt answer was, I don't care about the trash in your head. Can you predict my future? He would say, I don't predict future, but I can tell you how to manage your present so that your future can be as glorious as you want it to be. Can you create gold, wealth and such things? They said, yes, through my Gyana Yagna at the end of it. As Guru Dakshina. He was not much of a keen person to indulge in these things. So, those who are endowed with it, but use it very rarely or not at all, because they are not supposed to be the identifying factors for somebody to be great or not. There are some of them who lose track of or lose sight of the goal and start showing these different siddhis out and claim to be highly spiritual. So, if somebody is claiming that, beware of them, one way or the other. It is not something unique or great. Then he says, salutations to Mahadbhya means to those who are great in their form, beauty, power and knowledge. Mahadbhya, various kinds. Now, Siddhi can also mean not just Ashtasiddhi, but somebody who has accomplished, even in our day to day life, in our lokokti, in our common interactive field, Purushartha Siddhi. Somebody who has, somebody even a dying company comes and touches it, acquires it, suddenly starts flourishing. So, when it starts flourishing, he has got the Artha Siddhi. Somebody who, whatever be the desire, he focuses, that individual focuses on that particular desire, accomplishes it successfully. Kamya Siddhi. Somebody who does everything righteously, like Yudhishthira. Even after 5,000 years, we still remember him for his righteousness. Harishchandra, for tens and thousands of years even later, we still remember him with the tag name He is not called Raja Harishchandra, but he is called Raja Satya Harishchandra. Dharma Siddhi. And definitely Mahadbhyaha can mean Moksha Siddhi as well. Somebody who is realized and liberated. So Purushartha Siddhi also can be explained through this Mahadbhyaha. In our day-to-day language, somebody is good in business, market and such things. Don't we say 30 maar khane? Somebody who has really achieved great success and name and fame, they are also in the list of Purushartha Siddhi. But understanding the word Kshullaka gives a better meaning for both Kshullaka and Mahadbhyaha. So Kshullaka means Arbhakatvam. Arbhakatvam, Heenata. Heenata of what kind? Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says that what is Arbhakatvam? See, there is Shukla Yajurveda and Krishna Yajurveda. So what we are reading through, it is through the Krishna Yajurvediya Taitriya Samhita we are reading. But in the Shukla Yajurveda also there is a similar pattern of Rudram. There the mantra is not the same mantra, there is a little variation. Namo Mahadbhyaha Arbhakebhyascha Vo Namo Namaha. So right there between the Shukla Yajurveda and Krishna Yajurveda, they are using these two terms intermediately meaning the same thing. So what does Arbhakatvam mean according to the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad? He says Ragadveshadi Heenata Ityevam Arbhakatvam. Wherever there is the raga, dvesha, attachment, hatred, likes, dislikes and such things, the very existence of such things is called Heenata. And that Mahatma who has crossed over Vita Raga Bhaya Krodhaha, this is again quoting from Bhagavad Gita, and I have already given you my legitimate reason as to why Bhagavad Gita can be used as quotes, because it is Bhagavat Proktam, it is said by the Lord himself like the Vedas. So they are at equal par. So Vita Raga Bhaya Krodhaha. Vita Raga Bhaya Krodhaha. Recently in all the sessions, we have been handling this particular portion of Bhagavad Gita, wherein we have seen about inhibitions, attachments, fears, and probably the next week, that the coming Saturday and Sunday, we will be talking about Krodha. So if you want, you can go and visit that particular audio section to listen to what it means by Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha. For the past 4 weeks we have been dealing with just Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha, just one sentence, one line of the shloka. So those Mahatmas who have gone beyond this attachment, dislike, hatred, fear, and here fear actually means fear of death and the fears that are born off of the fear of death. And Krodha, Jita Krodhaha. Jita Krodhaha does not have to mean that they never get angry. It is only meaning that they do not get influenced and become slave of anger. They may very well use anger. So all these Mahatmas who have gone beyond these limitations, they are truly the Mahadbhyaha. And those who are tied down, those who are entrapped in such things, they are called the Kshullaka. So those who are entrapped in this, but they find such Mahatmas and want to dedicate their lives so that they can find a path to go beyond, to transcend these limitations, such ones are called Kshullaka. And Mahadbhyaha are those Mahatmas who have transcended it, but yet they come back to the world so that they continue the Guru Parampara, enlightening such seekers and such disciples with the knowledge that they have acquired and the path that they have followed, standing as the proof for the path that they have walked. But though they are Arbhaka, though they are Kshullaka, they still have that earnest intensity to get rid of this limitations. Therefore, he says that both in such a Guru, Mahadbhyaha, and in the seeker who is trying to reach to that perfection, it is the Lord alone who expresses. Therefore, salutations to both that Guru and Sishya. What a beautiful meaning it has turned out. Now, there is a different depth or different dimension of meaning. Shri Vishnu Suryaji, he says that this particular mantra is talking about Sakshi Swarupa. That Sakshi who has this unimaginable power, because it can identify with any upadhi, and identifying with any upadhi, it can become big or small. Are you getting the concept here? Because there is a smile on your faces which says, "Kuch samajh mein nahi aaya." See, the identification with the smallness of limitations makes the Sakshi, the Jiva. Identifying with this body, mind and intellect, behaving as the body, mind and intellect, carrying forward this ego in through every little experience and contaminating the experience. It is the same Sakshi who becomes limited, small. Nirupadir bhutva, having disidentified with this upadhi, what does he become? He becomes very Paramatma. Therefore, he says that this mantra is talking directly about Sakshi. Sakshi, but from what standpoint? From the Jiva's perspective. From the Jiva standpoint of limitations, it is talking about the Sakshi. Sakshi meaning the witnesshood. Is it clear? It is okay to say no, I can repeat over again. I somehow feel that there is not that spark that I usually find in your eyes which is seen. I can move forward. Okay, thank you. Resounding the same thing, Sri Skanda Deva in his Bhashya, he says that Jnanakara Guna Prabhava Vibhavaihi Vibhava Siddhayaha Nityam Atahate Mahantaha. Why are they Mahantaha? Mahadbhyaha Jnanakara Guna Prabhava Vibhavaihi. Whether you look at it from Purushartha Siddhi, Ashta Siddhi or Moksha Siddhi, from all these different standpoints, they have acquired the highest. Therefore, they are called the Mahantaha, and that Mahaniyata of that Mahan Purusha is the expression of that Lord alone. Kshudra Jnana Guna Prabhava Vibhavaha Te Kshullakaha. Those who are limited by the upadhi, trying to helplessly get out of it, they are called the Arbhaka or Kshullaka. Namo Mahadbhyaha Kshullakebhyascha vo Namaha. or in the Shukla Yajurveda it is said as Arbhakebhyascha vo namaha. Now, beauty of this particular line of mantra gets actually enhanced by the next line, which brings in a complete deeper meaning and sense to the both sentences, both parts of mantra. So, the next part of the mantra, repeat after me. Namo rathebhyo arathebhyascha vo namo. I did not chant it wrong because I stopped and paused there, Sandhi Vichcheda. There is a S sign there. That S sign or mark is called in Sanskrit avagraha. Avagraha indicates that there is a there, and when you break it, you have to read it as a Sandhi. Namo rathebhyo rathebhyascha vo namo. When I chant it in one sentence, you should not break it there. Rathebhyo arathebhyascha vo, you don't need to break it there because you are chanting it in one single sentence. Namo rathebhyo arathebhyascha vo namo. Namaha, salutations. Vaha, unto you. Unto you who? Rathebhyaha and arathebhyaha. Simple sense of meaning can mean rathebhyaha, somebody who has vehicle, chariot, like some important people, VIPs, kings and such people, when they have their own vehicles. And in today's present day culture and condition, anybody who has a vehicle, car, is called Rathi. Who is Arathi? Everybody else who is Bekar. Bekar meaning the one who does not have car. It is not Gujarati Bekar. In Gujarati, when you say Bekar, it means two cars. Be means two. Ek, be, tran. So, be means two in Gujarati. So, anybody who has a vehicle is called Rathi, and anybody who does not have a vehicle is called Arathi. Charioteer, the one who has a chariot, and those who do not have such mode of transportation are Rathi. To both such forms of those who have Ratha and those who do not have Ratha, salutations unto you, O Rudra, in such forms. How does it matter if somebody has Ratha or no Ratha? And what has it got directly to do with Rudra? I tell you, I am having such great time reading through the Bhashya of Sayanacharya, Vishnu Suri, Bhatta Bhaskara, Skandadeva, and Abhinava Shankara. And various others who have commented on one of these commentaries. That is where the beauty of each mantra starts getting revealed. So, now let us get into the beauty aspect of it. Ratham shariram eva vidhi. Which Upanishad gives us the comparison of Sharira to be Ratha? Katho Upanishad. Though we write in English K-A-T-H-O, so that does not make it Kathopanishad. Story Upanishad nahi hai wo. It is Kathopanishad. So in Kathopanishad it is said, Ratham Shariram Eva Vidhi. So what does Ratha mean? Those who are identified with this body, or the body itself is called Ratha. Those who are embodied, attached with this body is called Rathi. Rathibhyo Namaha. Those who are endowed with a body. To such ones my salutations and pranams. Meaning, to everyone. And it has got a deeper significance. Meaning what? Everyone is an avatara, expression of the Lord, waiting to find that potentiality within. One meaning. Second meaning, the body itself is Paramatma's expression. That is a deeper meaning. But presently we are attached to it, therefore Vedanta always criticizes the body. Sharirabhimani son, you are being a Sharirabhimani, therefore Dehabhimanam tyaktva, leave and get beyond the Dehabhimana. And that Abhimana with the body becomes a limitation. But what is the ultimate realization after you have transcended and found oneness with the Lord? The realization is this body also is expression of that Paramatma only, that Ishvara only. Now from this being a Rathi, what is the next stage? To become a Rathi. What does Arathi mean? Sharirabhimanam tyaktva arathinam vidhi. Giving up the bodily identification. Such ones who have transcended the body is called Arathi. Both are Shiva Swarupa alone. To both the one identified with the body and the one who is completely disidentified with the body. Both are expressions of that Ishvara. To such Ishvara, my salutations. First meaning. Now second meaning, a slight variation. You have to be really alert to catch the variation. Otherwise it will sound like, you just said the same thing earlier, right? It looks the same. Now, when the individual is in Vyavahara, there is a little bit of avidya lesha. There is a little bit of layer of avidya. Therefore, functions as an individual interacting with the world. We are talking here of the seeker or a disciple. That seeker or a disciple who identifies with this upadhi and functions through the upadhi as the upadhi, while he is in the interactive realm of the world, is called Rathi. The same individual, when sits on the seat of meditation, when he is doing the Viveka Vichara, when he is repeating the Mahavakya Uddeshya Lakshya, at that time of Viveka, he becomes Arathi. So, to that conscious principle, which becomes Rathi and Arathi, Upadhi and lack of Upadhi, my salutations. And those who become Jivan Mukta, here we are not talking about those who are like, while they are into the world, there is that little layer of avidya and they still are interacting, and while they are on the seat of meditation, they are like beyond time and space. But Jivan Muktas are in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is beyond this realm. Jivan Muktaha tu Shiva Bhagavatottamaha Sakshat Shiva Rupaha Evasan. Who is the Jivan Mukta? They are the greatest of the devotees. Shiva Bhagavatottamaha Sakshat Shiva Rupaha San. They are the very expression of Bhagavan himself. Therefore, we offer our salutations and various rituals directly to the feet of such masters. It is not to be misunderstood as a cult. It is not enforced on you. Sakshat Shiva Rupaha San. Now, in the earlier mantra, it was said that it is the Sakshi from the Jivatva standpoint. In this particular mantra, it is the same Sakshi, but from the standpoint of Ishvara. Now, what does that standpoint mean or indicate? It is the Lord alone who expresses both as the controlled and the controller. He is both the Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Sarva Kshetreshu Kshetrajnam cha apimam vidhi. And when Bhagavan is creating this particular beautiful creation as Ishvara with his Maya Shakti, when he expresses through Maya Shakti, creates this beautiful multitude of universe as the Ratha, as the body, as these different bodies. How is that Rudratva expressing? As Sat Swarupa. Sat Swarupa as the existential reality. And as the enliver of that Sat Swarupa, he becomes the Chit Swarupa, the conscious enliver of that Sat Padartha. Therefore, in this mantra, what is being said? From that Ishvara standpoint, both Rathi and Arathi indicate Sat and Chit aspect of Paramatma alone, of that Ishvara alone. And it is therefore it is said that what is this body to be considered as? The Upanishad says, Dehaha Devalayah Proktaha. The Deha is the Devalaya. And who is reflecting as that reflecting consciousness? Deva Sanatanaha. It is that Ishvara. So, both Ratha and Arathi indicate the Sat Swarupa and the Chit Swarupa of that Ishvara alone. Now, third standpoint. Though not realized, but yet with Viveka and Vairagya, it is still the expression of that Paramatma alone in that form of Jiva who is trying to cut his shackles and unbind himself or herself. And it is said, those who are endowed with such Viveka, it is in one of the Shiva Sukti, where it is said, Viveko vai bhairavaha, the one who is endowed with such viveka and understands that this identification is not to be entertained and he has to transcend. Whenever such viveka occurs, it is that Shiva in the form of Bhairava who is trying to grow and succeed in moksha marga. And once it is transcended, in the Shruti it is said, Dehabhimane galite Vijñate paramatmani yatra yatra mano yati tatra tatra samadhayaha. In 4 short sentences, entire spirituality is explained. Deha abhimane galite, galite tyaktva, having worked through, abandoned the identification of deha. There are how many dehas? No. 3. What are they? Sthula, Sukshma, Karana. That will be a totally different way to look at it, which is not in the Advaita Vedanta. Yeah, I have read that, but it does not come through this purview. Therefore, we will consider in Vedanta 3, Sthula, Sukshma and the Karana Sharira. Deha Abhimane Galite, when at all 3 levels that Abhimana is annihilated. Vijñate paramatmani, recognizing and abiding in and as that Paramatma. Such person, yatra yatra mano yati, wherever the mind goes or wherever the mind is interacting, tatra tatra samadhayaha. All that interaction is happening in samadhi alone. Some people call this as Sanchara Samadhi. Even though there is Savikalpa Samadhi, then there is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And this is called Sanchara Samadhi, wherein you don't need to sit and meditate, because every step, every interaction is nothing but in the meditative glow. So, to both such forms of Viveka and absolute Jnana, it is Ratha and Arathi. To such Rudra or Rudratva, my salutations, prostrations and pranams. Now, the next sentence of the mantra can bring in confusion, if it has not already been confusing. I thought that the first 2 parts of the mantra were quite beautiful. The third one can bring in slight confusion. Why? Repeat after me. Namo rathebhyo, rathebhyo, rathapatebhyascha, वो नमो, नमो रथेभ्यो रथपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो. नमो रथेभ्यो रथपतिभ्यश्च वो नमः. If the earlier 2 sentences of the mantra indicate the Jiva Sakshi and Ishvara Sakshi, here it is talking about Jivan Mukti. If you look at the mantra, it does not appear so. What does it say? It says, salutation to you in the form of chariot and salutations to you in the form of the owner of the chariot. Enough of this chariot business. What exactly are you trying to prove? Salutations to the Lord who is in both sthavara as well as jangama, jada and chaitanya. Salutations to the Lord who is in both chaitanya swarupa as well as jada swarupa, sentient and insentient, mobile and immobile. Now, Ratha, does it have its own mobility? You may say, just to contradict me, if you park the Ratha on a slope, yeah, it can have its own mobility. No, the better argument is, to be in that condition, somebody has to put that vehicle there. It cannot all by itself go there, right? So, there is immobile, and that immobile can be put to mobility only when there is an intelligent cause which can substantiate, support and be the substratum of it to move. Vehicle is there, vehicle has a wheel, vehicle has four wheel meaning steering, and then 4 wheels, and then you have gas in it, and you go sit inside. Do you think automatically it will glide through the traffic and take you where you have to? We are trying to experiment lot of such stuff, but even in such, you have to first push that button to put it in motion. So, both aspects of sentient and insentient, it is the Lord alone expressing. First meaning. Now, second meaning requires a little analysis. We all sleep, we all dream. Do you all dream? Okay. Do you remember your dreams? Sometimes at least. Okay. So, when you do remember those dreams, try to rewind that particular memory of that dream. It is you who is projecting the dream world. Is it that first there is a sequence of insentient created, and then there is a sequence of sentiency brought in, or does it happen like a sudden surge of expression of both sentient and insentient? The later one. That which is being projected by your own conscious mind in that dream state, it is the mind itself which is taking form and shape of both sentient and insentient, isn't it? You are, in a forest, and suddenly there is a tiger chasing you. You run into that canyon and to find your way out, Finally, you reach a dead end wherein there is a huge wall and a little gap to run, and the tiger standing in that gap. And then you suddenly remember in the dream, in such troubled situations, always chant the mantra. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukame Vandanat Mrityormukshiya Mamritaat. The tiger also attended Balavihar. So what was the tiger doing? Take some water into the right palm and say Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina Om Bhur Bhuvassuvahat Satyam Tvartena Parishinchami Om Pranaya Swaha Om Apanaya Swaha. Now the mountain, forest, the tiger, you, the mantra, isn't it all your mind being taking these different forms? Similarly, the entire creation of both Ratha and Rathapati, sentient and insentient, is an expression of that Lord alone. Therefore, continuing the same Ishwaratva into realizing that Antar, within, inside, is that Brahma Tattva. Bahihi Antar Bahischa Tat Sarvam Vyapya Narayana Sthitaha. Where does this mantra come? Narayana Sukta. Antar Bahischa Tat Sarvam. It is that Paramatma alone. Now with that quotation, I might land into trouble with both the Shaiva and the Vaishnava. To substantiate a Shaiva mantra, how can you quote a Vaishnava mantra? Because in Advaita Siddhanta, they are not two different. It is one Paramatma alone. So, in the earlier mantras, one was given from the standpoint of Jivatva, second one was given from the standpoint of Ishwaratva as a Sakshi, and here it is being given from the standpoint of the realized masters, the Jivan Mukti, Sthiti. How is it? They perceive both sentient and insentient as that Paramatma alone. You see the Ratha, but you don't see the Rathapati. So, manifest and unmanifest is also that Paramatma is the experience. So, I have taken a different notch here. Going through the sequence, Jiva Sakshi, Ishvara Sakshi, Jivan Mukti. In Jivan Mukti, sentient, that which has life in it. Insentient, that which has no life in it. It is Sat Swarupa, not Chit Swarupa. Now, if you take the Ratha, Rathebhyaha as the meaning of that which is manifest, Rathapati as the unmanifest, because it cannot be seen. Both Vyakta Vyakta is nothing but Paramatma alone is the experience. Then our Bhatta Bhaskaraji, in his translation, in his commentary, he says that, let's keep things simple. He refers to an episode of Tripura Samhara. In that Tripura Samhara, Bhagwan runs to save the world and annihilating the Tripura. And while he was running, he was barefooted, there was nothing carrying him. So immediately all gods like sun, moon, and sun and moon become the wheels. The 4 Vedas, they become the horses. And then the Lord, he adorns such a celestial chariot to do what? To win over Tripura. So what is this Tripura? That the Lord is, the Jivan Mukta is winning over, or has already won over waking, dream and deep sleep. So what is the analogy in that Tripura? They never align themselves, they are not always available at the same time. Similarly, in waking, dream and deep sleep, if you are waking, you are not dreaming. If you are dreaming, you are not sleeping. If you are sleeping, you are neither waking nor dream. So constantly there is never a unison. So the question may be whether the dreamer is real, or the waker is real, or the deep sleeper is real. So when you find that unifying factor that none of them are real, you blast it open. And who is the asura here? In this Tripura, who is the asura? The ahankara which identifies with the waking world to become Vishwa. That ahankara which identifies with the dream world becomes the Taijasa. And that ahankara which identifies with the deep sleep is the Prajna. Vishwa Taijasa Prajna. It is the ahankara. That ahankara of asura has to be killed, and that reflected consciousness or jivatva has to be merged to become one with that Paramatma. That oneness is shown in Rathebhyo Rathapatebhyascha Vo Namaha. Are these 3 mantras tied in with clarity? Majority of you are shaking your head, therefore I am moving forward. That is what happens when there is online. You don't know if they are shaking or not. First of all, you don't know if there is anybody watching or not. So whenever you watch, shake your head if you understand. Now moving to the next mantra. Namasenabhyah senanibhyascha vo namo. Namasenabhyah senanibhyascha vo namo. Salutations unto you in the form of armies, senabhyah, and also those who are commanding leaders of these armies, senani. Who are Shiva's Sainya? Are his Ganas. We have already seen, Ganebhyo Ganapatibhyascha Vo Namo Namo. We have already seen that part. And who is the Senani of these Ganas? It is Kartikeya. He is the commander for all the armies. Shanmukha. And he is born as the Amsha of Shiva himself. Therefore, Kartikeya is also Rudra Gana or Rudramsha. So, to both the Ganas as well as to the commanding chief of these Ganas, who is Rudramsha, to that Kartikeya, our salutations and pranams. One meaning. Second meaning is that Sena means, going in line with the earlier three mantras, to continue the same thought flow. Sena, here it has to be taken as Viveka Vritti. Sena is armed to do what? Why do we build armies? What is their purpose? To vanquish enemies. Right? Now, the purpose is not just to fight with the enemies, but to vanquish them, to defeat them, annihilate them. Nobody builds armies just to go there and to give a show. Though incidentally, that is what happens in near Amritsar, Wagah border. There is a show. Have you ever been there? It's hilarious. Each one of them comes with a very peculiar style of marching, wherein the foot is lifted all the way up there like that. And there is a pradarshana. Sena is not built for pradarshana. Sena is built for vanquishing the enemy. And what is our enemy here in our sadhana while we are practicing? There is this viparita vritti that is born. See, vritti means thought. Why is thought called a vritti? The root word being vritta. What does vritta mean? Circular or spherical. Two-dimensional, circular, three-dimensional, spherical. So, it starts from one point and then comes back to the same point. So, what does the thought do? It goes out through the organs of perception and action, perceives that world and then comes back. So, there is always the loop, and because it forms these loops, thoughts are recognized as vritti. The thoughts loudly expressed in action, thoughts expressed loudly in the form of action, therefore the actions are called pravritti, prakatita vritti. Thoughts expressed in the format of action, therefore it is called pravritti. While doing so, there is this self-cancelling thought, viparita vritti. There is Gyana Yagna on Rudra Prashna today. Till yesterday, the weather was so pleasant. It was in 60s and 70s, and it was awesome. And suddenly today it dipped to 40s, and it will further dip now. Should I go or not go? It is getting too cold. Viparita vritti. To be in satsanga is the viveka vritti. What is the viparita vritti? That which is self-cancelling. To do anything righteous, anything right in life. One meaning of viparita vritti. On the higher standpoint, this viparita vritti is called asambhavana. Asambhavana, Hindi it is easier to understand. होने की संभावना ही नहीं. It is not possible to be what the scriptures are saying. And what are the scriptures crying out? That you are that Paramatma, you are that self, you are that conscious being. Me, Paramatma, fine. Me. The self-doubt. The self-doubt, doubt in the self, about the self, as the nature of the self cannot be that Satchidananda Swarupa. That is called asambhavana. Now these vrittis have to be annihilated with deep chintana, viveka chintana. Such viveka vritti is called sena, which annihilates this viparita buddhi or asambhavana. The doubts have to be completely annihilated. That is the only purpose of satsanga. Satsanga will not give you realization. It will take away all the eczema. Doubts are like eczema. We keep scratching, scratching, reaching nowhere. It removes all these eczemas. Now, having done that, what happens? Senanibhyascha vo namaha. Now, in case of a Jivan Mukta, there may exist these different thoughts. It is wrong to assume that Jivan Mukta do not have thoughts, or it will be chaotic. Jivan Muktas have thought, or thoughts, thought patterns, but they are not under the influence of those thoughts. They pick and choose which thought to entertain, which thought not to entertain. Just by the glance of it, the thought can be stopped, the thought can be recreated. Therefore, the commander of all such vrittis is the Jivan Mukta. In the light of that Brahman, these vrittis, which cannot hold any control over that Brahma Tattva, but has to be used to interact with the world. But it is now under complete accessible control, under the commanding of that Brahma Tattva. There is no mediation. Directly Brahma Tattva is controlling that thought. Ut, get up, it gets up. Stop, and it stops. Withdraw, no, I want to be some more, no cringing. Withdraw, and it withdraws. Because of that commanding, he is called Senani. Senanibhyascha vo namaha. Meaning, earlier than realization, that control and accessibility was done through viveka, viveka vritti. Therefore, it is called Sena. And after realization, it is the Lord alone who illumines them and controls them. Therefore, he is called Senani. Namasena abhyasenanibhyascha vo namaha. Next mantra. We will chant the mantra and see it tomorrow. Namaha kshatrabhyah sangrahitrabhyascha vo namo. Namaha kshatrabhyah sangrahitrabhyascha vo namo. Again, as I said earlier, whenever there is visarga followed by ksha, visarga and ksha do not have sandhi, therefore they have to be enunciated separately. Namaha kshatrubhyah sangrahitrubhyascha vo namaha. We will see that tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.